are, all cleaned up. Like with most jobs, the cleaning takes just about the longest many times. Now this plate here, where we had those little marks from the other clutch plate sitting on it, I have a sandblaster here, so I just sandblasted it. Now if you'd like to, on yours, if it's something similar, if you would like to get an orbital sander with a coarse paper in and just tidy that up, that's fine, nothing wrong with that. Run a wire brush on an angle grinder over, nothing wrong with that. The thing you don't want to do is polish it. You're better off to have a slightly rough surface, and it'll work better like that, just as on your flywheel. So look, what we'll do, we'll go and get a straight edge now. We'll run a straight edge across and just see if we can see the light behind it and make sure that plate's okay. Right, now what we're looking at is that we haven't got a big dish in the centre. So on my plate here, I can sit the ruler on there in a few different places. There's no air gap, like I can't see no light at this end and more light in there. It's all even right across. So that's what you need to look at. If yours is okay, you're off and racing. Now when we sit this up this side, there's a few things we can look at. One is these springs. Now, an old bloke told me one time, and I go along with it a bit, is when he puts the springs back, he used to get a fibre washer or a washer and sit there. And that would put a little bit more tension on the springs. And I said, well, what do you do that for? And he said, well, over the time, these springs are probably many years old and they're sitting in a compressed state. So over time, they probably lose a little bit of that. So if you'd like to put a fibre washer, say, look, 2 millimetres thick would probably be about as thick as I would go. If you'd like to put a fibre washer under those and sit them up on that, that's fine. Yeah, it won't. It's one of those jobs, if it doesn't do any good, what harm can it do? And it can't do any harm. Now, on the adjusting screws, we've just cleaned all them up on a wire brush. They sit in there, and that's what keeps it all in line. It helps to keep it all in line at least. These are your anti-rattle springs on your cover, and these are your fingers that I've tidied up. Now, what I wanted to show you on the fingers is these two here. Now, if I can find the... If I can get the focus right, you might be able to see. You can, just there. You notice the wear pattern's wider at this end than that end. So that tells us that the throwout bearing's been sitting on that a little crooked. So it's been just cocked a little way. This one has actually got a little lip there, just here, and a flat section, even though the flat section's even. It's hard to get you to see that. But look, what we'll do, we'll go and get the die grinder and a flapper disc, and we'll radius this smooth again. Now, it doesn't matter if one of them is slightly thinner than the other, something like that, it just doesn't matter. Because when the pivot is sitting here and you've taken up the slop in the pivot and the throwout bearing comes and touches this finger, we've adjusted it up high so it all lifts this plate nice and evenly. And that's what we're looking to do. We don't want the plate lifting like that because it's going to wear on this corner. The outside of your disc is going to wear and things like that. So look, I'll go and get a little grinder and we'll tidy them up. Right, back again. Now look, what we did, I didn't actually film this bit because watching me with this thing whizzing in your ears, not much chop, but we've come across with a little disc and we've just radiused them around and kept the surface there nice and neat, and we've done all three of them. And the idea is that when my pretend throwout bearing here comes on it and pushes on it, it'll be free to slide across that arc. So you're making sure it's got a small arc on it. But that's fine, we can work away. So, alright, let's start putting one of these together. So, this fella sits here. First, what I like to do is get a bit of my famous orange grease. Spread a little bit around. Might be better if I just do that, I think. Put a little bit on the tip that goes inside. Then we get a clutch finger. I need another hand. We put a little bit of grease in where it pivots on both sides. Put that through the hole and drop the thread through. And so that can pivot nice and neatly on there. Now, that sits in there, but we need to get this pusher block in there too, don't we? So it's also got a little area where it probably needs a little bit of grease, I believe. On the bottom where the finger goes, because the finger revolves around that as it turns. So that should go in there. Get this over on an angle. Pop him all in there. Oh, now it doesn't want to go for me. We'll start that a little bit again. I wonder if that would help going under like that. No. I'm going to have to get a knack for this, because I haven't got just yet. I'll keep that even as it go, I believe. That's the go. Okay, the secret's to hold it up here and then poke it in under there. And look, at this stage we'll just put a drop of oil where that runs up and down in the housing there. So we'll put the next one on just to see if we've got that knack worked out. Probably not, but anyway, a little bit of that. Make it's ready to go up in there. There's a pretty grease, isn't it? You don't need to over grease all this stuff. I'm probably getting a bit much on it here now, but I think it's the orange tacky grease that I'm going to blame for that. Alright, we'll see if we can go better with this one. We slide him up. Anytime you're ready. Get that right over on an angle and slide him in. There's nothing to it when you know how. Pity we don't bloody know how, eh? And just to prove we know what we're doing, we'll do the next one too. A little bit of grease. Set him over there ready. As long as you can see that all right. Finger in. Now we'll lift that up again. Start it and away we go. I don't know why you didn't tell me that in the first place. Okay, just a dab of oil where that goes. Can't remember which one we done before, so we'll do them all again. So look, that's it for there. We put our 9 springs on. Now look, with the springs, you just clean them up and make sure they're not bent, you know, nice and straight. That's about all you need to do. Make sure there's no obvious marks on them. They don't need lubricating or anything like that. They do their job without that. That's your main clutch plate. Yeah, that's actually your pressure plate, and this is your cover. So with these anti-rattle springs, you just pop them in like that. You do the 3 of those. Once again, you have a look, make sure there's no wear marks or anything like that on them. And away you go. That bit's done. Now, what we need to do is look for our witness marks that I put on this assembly, and there they are there. So we look for the witness marks on the cover, which is there. You can see them there. Now, so this piece here slides in the housing nicely. I just put a little smear of grease each side. Once again, you don't need a lot. It's just to stop it galling. And line up your marks. Where are they? There it is there. And so we bring it down over the springs. We just make sure that all the springs are in where they should be. And that's looking good. Okay, back over to the press. We need to press this down. While we're pressing it down, this finger, it comes up, and we get this screw started on the screw there. Alright, we'll be back in a minute and we'll be over at the press. Okay, at this stage we're back at the press once more. We'll pop our little bit of 3x2 across and our John Deere gudgeon pin, and we'll slowly lower the press. And as we come down, we're making sure that we're not catching here at all. We're all nice and free on each of the fingers are coming up nice and easily. Just go gentle. If you feel anything getting hard, slow up. And at this stage, I think we're just high enough to start that thread. But look, we will go in a bit deeper. I've also put the brand new clutch plate in this system too. so that when we press it down there, we do our finger heights over on the bench later, we have got the right piece in. So all we do at this stage is start these bolts. Same over the back here. And we can take the pressure plate right down until it just touches the flywheel. There we go. We don't want to bend it or anything. We just take it up enough and that's it. Alright, we'll do these bolts up. We'll get them about one thread out through the top and we'll come back. Okay, what I've done also, I've taken the opportunity to turn it all on the flywheel, so when we actually put the pressure down, like that, we can do up these bolts. We'll just do them up just firm, they don't have to be over tightened. And we'll just run this up a little bit too. So we just come and say one thread above the nut. And because we're bolted down here, even though we're not bolted right down, this is good enough for what we're doing. We can remove the press. And at this stage, we can set our finger height by these nuts here. So we'll get the verniers and we'll set a gauge and we'll do that. Okay, we've set this ruler, and so what we can do now is while that's sitting down, we'll have to come up off the top here. I've got them a little too high by the looks. Another thing I haven't mentioned that we should do at this stage, even though it's not quite straight, is, what do we put on there? Something like this. As we'll come down and we'll cycle the press a couple of times, I'll cycle the clutch a couple of times. The idea of that is just to get everything sitting in properly. have put a spacer there, shouldn't I? There you go. We've got all the fingers pressed down just gently. I can see this plate coming up here, so we'll let him up again. We'll cycle him again. Okay, so now it's been cycled up and down a couple of times. We hope everything's sitting in the proper place. I will tighten this other couple of screws down. And now we do our finger height. So this one's a bit high. Just touching there. And this one here. That's a little bit high. This one's a little bit high too. Alright, this is a little bit bulky. I'll get a vernier caliper. Let's set it 30mm. Get the press up out of the way. That's spot on. So it needs to come up just a bit now. It's just on it. Go down under it and then come back on it. Yeah, spot on 30. Spot on 30. Take that one down and bring him up again, I think. There, just touching there. So we've set our finger height. I don't want to lock them off just yet. So with the finger height set, we'll bring the press, bring it over. Now we can test it here and see if that's going to work. Now they're all fairly even, so we know we're not too far off the money. We can put that plate in there. We can build a little stack under there. And we can just take the load. Okay, we just got it there. Now, at this stage, I'll see if I can get you down lower. Around hand here. Now, where you have a look here, when we press down, you'll see that plate comes up, this one here. And when that comes up, you can actually push the plate from one side to the other. So we lift him up again. And we cycle that a couple of times just to make sure we're in the right spot. And when we're doing that, we can actually move the clutch plate. I can't get to a place where I can show you, but around the back here, there's a place where the clutch plate sits out a little bit. When we press on the clutch there, that lifts this plate up, and we can actually pop that across with a screwdriver. So that's how we know it's working. Well, look, that's it. That's the clutch done. It's just the basics of what you need to do. Now, a couple of interesting things is when we measured that Sparex clutch straight out of the box, the finger height was 30mm. Now, I did quite a bit of fiddling with this clutch over on the press to try and get it to a place where I thought it would release nice and easily and cleanly, and I found with this particular clutch we had to go to 35mm. So at 35mm, that, you might ask, why did I go there? The fingers are sort of straight. They should be straight, and when you push them, you should only have to push probably 5/16 to 3/8 of an inch maybe. And once you press that, the leverage pops this up and releases that bottom plate there. So what I found out was at 30mm, the same as the Sparex clutch, the fingers were down low. Now, as a clutch plate wears, the fingers will come higher and higher and higher. But I felt they were just too low and too close to the boss on the clutch plate. So in my instance, I pulled it up to 35mm, my fingers. The fingers are all coming out nice and even. They're not sitting way up there. Nice and even with the little ball on the end for the throw out to press on. And in this instance, that's a better setting. So what do we learn from that? Which setting do we set our fingers at? Well, the Sparex one straight out of the box was 30mm. We measured that straight out of the box with the brand new clutch plate on, with the exact same clutch plate in here. To get the fingers level and above the boss enough, we've had to go to 35. So look, what I can suggest is measure it before you pull it apart. On your clutch, if you have a worn plate and you have the opportunity to put a brand new plate in, bolt it back on. You don't have to line it up and all that. Just bolt it back on with the new plate and take a finger height measurement, an average, and go from there. Yeah, so I never knew that with these clutches. I'd done a few over time, and they're usually that cheap that you can, just go and grab one off the shelf off Sparex. And but look, doing it yourself, doing them up, it's a great thing to do. I prefer to do stuff up myself rather than buy new ones, and many people do. It's a journey of restoring a tractor, not getting it done as quick as you can, and anyone can buy a nice one. So yeah, all we need to do now is just lock those screws in, which I haven't done yet. The fingers are set at 35, like I've said. I've lubed it up. I need to peg that so they don't shift. Our marks are lined up here, and there's not much more we can do. In the press, once we pressed about 8mm, I could move the plate. You can set a screwdriver in here and just flick the plate back and forth, and you know that the plate's nice and free. So the reason I picked the fingers up was because they were sitting down too much of an angle. At rest at the moment they are level, and I think that's about where you should be. and that may well be why the book says they don't give us a measurement. They just say make sure they're a certain height. And I think if you work on these nuts here, I have another clutch over there that I haven't pulled apart at all. You're looking at about a thread to a thread and a half sitting out the top here when your fingers are okay. So look, that's it for doing upper clutch. Yeah, have a go. If you know something about this that I haven't mentioned or don't know, put it in the comments there. It doesn't mean that I'm right and you're wrong, or you're right and I'm wrong. It just means there's two ways of doing something. So anyway, look, I hope you enjoyed it. These videos are to encourage you to have a go on your own. On our YouTube channel, Bundy Bear's Shed here, some of the parts we get sponsored by Sparex, which have been very good to us with it. But Sparex probably don't really want you doing your whole one up, but they'd like to sell you a new one, so that's life, isn't it? Well, look, thanks for watching. Please subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment down below. I look at YouTube most days, so if there's a message here, you want a bit of guidance or something like that, look, jump into it and have a look. These parts will be for sale on our website, queenslandtractorspares.com.au, and there'll be a link to a Sparex page, so if you'd like to buy from your local agent, that's fine too. If you need to email me, bundybear@queenslandtractorspares.com.au, and you will get answered. As long as I'm bloody standing upright, you'll be okay. So look, thanks again for watching. Please like, subscribe and comment, and share this video around to your friends if you think it would help. Catch you later, eh?